Tropical Storm Alex is a very real threat to the South Texas coast and the coast of northern Mexico at this hour. We continue to watch Alex as it's trying to fight off some wind shear that's been brought upon it from the anticyclone that was over it for so long that has since moved to the south and west of it, and that has been creating some shear right into the western side of Alex. And we also have this little low pressure here with the troughiness moving along the Gulf Coast, also biting away at the northwest side of Alex. However, as this system continues to move towards the north-northwest and then eventually a gradual bend back west, there should be no reason why this can't strengthen into a hurricane and a strong hurricane before landfall, and that's why hurricane watches are out and they're likely to become hurricane warnings in a couple of hours. You can also see that upper level low here that we've been tracking across much of the Atlantic is helping to vent the right side of Alex, but as of right now it is still that western side that is pretty flat, pretty dry. You can see the drier air, and that's keeping Alex from becoming a monster hurricane tonight, but it won't keep it from becoming a strong hurricane over the next 48 hours, which is why we're going to have to keep a close eye on it. Now, as of 5 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time or 4 p.m. Central, the center of Alex was at 20.5 north, 91.8 west. Winds were still around 60 miles an hour, gusting to 70. Pressure 990 millibars. It's been hovering around that all day. It's gone up a few millibars, but again, it's pretty much stayed the same intensity and pretty much the same location the last 18 hours or so. It's moving north-northwest at 4, and that is important because that's more north than west. So if it's moving north-northwest at 4, you got to assume we'd then see a track northwest, then west-northwest, then back west, and that's exactly what the National Hurricane Center is showing, with a landfall somewhere close to the border region of Mexico here, northern Mexico. There's South Texas. This area here is most at risk, and even though it does not show it explicitly on this map, there is a good possibility Alex could become a Category 2 hurricane before landfall, perhaps even stronger than that. There is a chance it could become a major hurricane depending on how fast it starts to strengthen once it forms an eye. That really is the fear, that this may be as disorganized as it is right now, and then become a hurricane Tuesday night and explode all day Wednesday and then not make landfall until Thursday morning. And that would be the fear, that this becomes a hurricane and is set to become as strong as it wants a good 36 hours before it runs out of time. However, if it slows down and upwells itself over these waters, we'd likely be looking at weakening. We do have hurricane watches out from south of Baffin Bay, Texas, all the way down to La Cruz, Mexico. We also have a tropical storm watch out from Baffin Bay up to Port O'Connor on the Texas coast. And keep in mind, even though Alex is a relatively small storm right now, its cloud shield and rain shield does encompass a large area of the Gulf of Mexico, and even though the winds of tropical storm force are small, as this becomes a hurricane and then a strong hurricane and makes landfall, you're going to have the threat of storm surge, especially to the north and on the right side of where the eye makes landfall. That could be pretty nasty indeed. So we're going to have to watch that very carefully, as really Alex is going to be able to intensify over the coming days. And there's the visible satellite imagery, and you can see at the end there, it is looking a little bit better. A little bit better than it was before here. Clearly, this side here has a chunk taken out of it from the wind shear. Other than that, the entire eastern and northern and southern semicircle look very impressive. Right there is the center. And again, you can see that even better, that clearly there was the high pressure that spun clockwise and that gave shear to Alex. And then as the troughiness came down, there was also a little bit of wind shear there. However, that troughiness is moving, that anticyclone's moving, and there is no reason why this system even appears right now getting better organized as it moves to the north-northwest with an eventual turn back towards the west-northwest. A little bit closer in on the visible, and you can see there's the center, and again, it's getting a little bit better organized right in there, but still a little bit dry, a little bit sheared on the western side, but enough to keep it a strong tropical storm. And again, as it continues that very slow motion in this direction, expected to eventually bend back and come ashore somewhere in northern Mexico, but really it's all about the latitude it gains. If this thing speeds up north-northwest all night, it could be a bigger threat to Texas. If it slows down even more, it could end up being a threat to Tampico. So again, there's just a lot of uncertainty with the track. You can see on the infrared here, not nearly as impressive as the visible, looking very, very ragged compared to yesterday, even compared to when it was over land. Clearly wind shear and some upwelling, but probably more so wind shear. You see these winds blowing right towards it. See that? That's impacting the storm at this time. But again, these things can recover from wind shear, and it does appear like it will do so over the coming days. As far as track's concerned, it's continued to shift north and south with the models. Right now, they seem pretty good agreement of extreme northern Mexico or extreme South Texas. If I were in Brownsville, I'd definitely be overlooking my hurricane plans. And again, the current motion, if extrapolated out, would take it to Galveston. But right now, it is expected to obviously turn back west and not impact that area. But again, we have to keep a close eye on it. You can see here's the Canadian model, which had been bringing it to Louisiana yesterday. It's now bringing it right near the border region of Texas and Mexico. You can see the GFDL does bring it into northern Mexico as a Category 2 hurricane right in there with some tropical storm force winds that would definitely be impacting a large stretch of Padre Island and the South Texas coast. The HWRF model makes it barely a tropical storm, believe it or not, and but with this good signature of the tight isobars all that time over water, that may be an underestimate of intensity. Regardless, it brings it in, what is that, North Padre Island, this area here, and that's between Brownsville and Corpus. That's actually where Brett in '99 hit its Category 3, and although it did cause some damage, it definitely didn't do as much damage as it would have had it hit the major metropolitan areas. And finally, you can see the GFS here does bring it in right along the border region here of Texas and Mexico, with a few more waves out there in the Atlantic that it's trying to spin up. Wind shear wise, there's that beautiful high pressure that allowed this to become such a potent storm over the Yucatan, but see, the center of Alex is now here, and the center of the high pressure is now here, which means it's actually getting sheared. About 10 knots, that's moving away, it's decreasing, and as a matter of fact, if we look at the shear tendencies, the entire western Gulf is decreasing, and you say, well, what's all this, shear right over here, all these oranges and reds? That's from the outflow on the right side of Alex. So Alex really shouldn't have that much of a problem after taking the shear tonight. As far as water temperatures are concerned, again, it could upwell itself. It appears like it might be trying to do so. The waters are not very warm in this area anyways. Well, 85 degrees is warm, but I mean, compared to these reds and these greens and yellows on the map, it's definitely in probably the coolest part of the Gulf of Mexico. However, once again, as the system organizes and moves itself closer to the coast, we will see strengthening probably into an intense hurricane. So again, all eyes are on Alex in the Atlantic basin. That's really all we've got. There's the visible, and again, it's looking a bit better organized there as it starts to get towards evening in the Gulf of Mexico. And once that western side recovers, it makes that move northwest, then back to the west. Anywhere in the hurricane watch area, from areas of, say, Port O'Connor, Texas, all the way down to Tampico, even if you're not under the watcher warning, you need to be on the alert as Alex makes its way towards the western Gulf Coast. I'm Mike Naso from Internet Partnership Radio, and I'll see you next time.